The process of decolonization in Africa marked a profound shift in global politics and the dismantling of colonial empires. France, once a dominant colonial power in Africa, faced mounting challenges that ultimately led to its withdrawal from many of its African colonies. This article explores the factors and events that contributed to France's diminishing hold on its African territories. Legacy of colonialism. France's colonial presence in Africa was characterized by exploitation, cultural assimilation, and uneven economic development. The imposition of European governance systems, economic structures, and the suppression of local cultures left deep scars on the African continent. As the mid-20th century approached, the desire for self-determination and independence gained momentum among African nations. World War II and shifting alliances. World War II had a profound impact on the global geopolitical landscape, and Africa was no exception. France's defeat and occupation by Nazi Germany weakened its hold on its overseas territories, including those in Africa. Vichy France, a collaborationist regime, ruled over these territories during the war, further eroding the legitimacy of French colonial rule. Simultaneously, the war saw the emergence of anti-colonial movements in Africa, inspired by the principles of self-determination espoused by Allied powers. Many African soldiers fought in the war, gaining military training and forging a sense of shared identity and aspirations for independence. Rising nationalism and independence movements. Post-World War II, Africa experienced a surge in nationalist movements demanding self-rule and independence. Influential leaders like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, and Ahmed Sékou Touré in Guinea rallied their people against colonial rule, advocating for autonomy and sovereignty. These movements, often characterized by civil disobedience, strikes, and protests, put increasing pressure on colonial powers like France to address demands for self-governance. The French Union, which sought to maintain a semblance of control over its colonies, was met with resistance as African leaders insisted on full sovereignty. Conflicts and independence declarations. The Algerian War of Independence was a watershed moment for France's African colonies. The brutal conflict, pitting Algerian nationalists against French forces, was marked by atrocities and human rights abuses. The struggle for Algerian independence became a rallying cry for other African nations, demonstrating the resilience and determination of those seeking self-rule. By 1960, a wave of African nations had declared independence, including Cameroon, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Mali, Madagascar, and many others. France faced increasing diplomatic pressure and international scrutiny regarding its colonial policies. Economic and political realities. Maintaining colonies became increasingly costly for France, and the economic benefits of colonial exploitation diminished as global trade dynamics changed. Additionally, the United Nations and international norms increasingly favored self-determination and independence, further isolating colonial powers. France's retreat from its African colonies was a complex and multifaceted process influenced by historical, geopolitical, and ideological shifts. The struggle for independence, driven by African leaders and movements, culminated in the dissolution of colonial empires and the emergence of independent African nations. This period of decolonization marked a turning point in world history, shaping the modern political, social, and economic landscape of the African continent.